Thank you all for joining this community call of the Internet of Production. I'm Andrew. I am the chair of the Internet of Production Alliance, and I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to the call today and to be able to hand you over shortly to our speakers, Lewis Holbrook and Sarah Hutton. And I'm told that Lewis and Sarah will also be joined by Lewis's colleague, Wario, who've been working on a system that could potentially help with the idea of recognizing skills and recognizing certifications that people have earned by learning new skills that fits with the people and skills specification of the Internet of Production Alliance that Dr. Sarah Hutton launched just over a couple of years ago now. So welcome all of you to the call today. Thank you for joining. I'm going to be doing some quick updates about the Alliance, quite quick today on that, and then I'm going to be handing over to Lewis, who'll then be introducing the system, providing a bit of context, showing what they've been working on. Wario is going to be doing a bit of a demonstration, and then Sarah is going to be talking about the relevance of that to the people and skills specification and distributed manufacturing more broadly. Some of this work, I should say, has come from our work on the MAKE project, which is largely been around African makerspaces. And I understand there's going to be a few people joining us from African makerspaces over the course of the call today. One of the reasons we're doing this call is we're looking for people to collaborate with on this system. What you're seeing is a prototype today, and we're going to be looking for people to come and try it out and pilot it. And we've got time for questions and discussion at the end of the call today. So first thing I want to say is to invite you to, if you haven't got the newsletter already from the Internet of Production, to subscribe to our newsletter. There's a QR code there. You can also subscribe through the homepage on our website, and you can have a look at some of the previous editions as well. It's maybe once every 3 months on average that I'll send a newsletter out, or our team will send a newsletter out, and it contains lists of upcoming events we've been part of, but also interesting things in the world of distributed manufacturing and from the Alliance. Our next community call, which I want to put a plug in for now, is going to be on the 14th of January in 2026, which sounds very far in the future to me, even today. And we're going to be welcoming Nathan Parker, who's going to be speaking about a tool that he's been developing, that he's come to name as the Open Hardware Engine, which is for matching hardware designs to local manufacturing facilities and capabilities. So you can register now on that link, and there's a QR code on the screen there if you want to register for that Zoom call. The updates for the Internet of Production at the moment are basically about us getting ready for some events that are coming up. So I particularly want to highlight 10 days in Berlin from the 15th of May onwards. We're going to be participating in the Global Innovation Gathering, which is a gathering of innovators from all over the world, particularly interested in social impact. So that's going to be probably about 70 people coming together. Then there is an absolutely massive internet media policy conference called Republica that takes place every year in Berlin. And in that, there is a makerspace part of the conference. So you can go and make things in the makerspace, and we'll be involved in supporting that makerspace, but also contributing some talks to the wider Republica program. Then I'm happy to say that we're going to be having another face-to-face meeting of the Internet of Production's Open Know-how standard. We're going to be reviewing the standard and updating the standard, collaborating on the standard. We haven't come together to work on this standard in person since 2019. Now, the pandemic got in the way, but since then there's also been quite a lot of development of the different uses of the Open Know-how standard, which is about helping with discovery of hardware designs on the internet. So I'm imagining that will be about 15 people, maybe 18 people, and it's particularly for technical authors who have an interest in the Open Know-how standard. So if that might apply to particularly a couple of you on this call, Emilio and Robin, I'm thinking of all of your work with the Open Know-how standard. You'd be very welcome to join us in Berlin on that day. And then on the 23rd and 24th, we have the Open Source Hardware Association conference. Their deadline for proposing content is actually Sunday this weekend. But if there's things you'd like to come and show and tell at that conference, that's going to be taking place at TU Berlin at the end of that very busy 10 days. We're preparing with the United Nations Digital Office of Digital Technologies. We're preparing a contribution to United Nations Open Source Week, both a side event, but also maybe a contribution to the hackathon that takes place in the UN headquarters, and a discussion on digital public goods and OSPOs that will be taking place in UNHQ as well in New York. And that's going to be probably our day is probably going to be something like the 23rd and 24th of June of that week. And then we're also looking forward to the Global Fab Lab conference as well, which is an important part of the Internet of Production Alliance's calendar. For today, I'm going to try, this is a link to our forum, and I'm going to try seeing if people want to make any notes on the community, they can add replies to this forum page. So if you do want to make some notes and you want to share them, you can add them to this page on our discourse forum. And I think that's about it by way of introduction. So I met, by way of updates, so moving on to introduction, I met Lewis for the first time earlier this year, but have known of his work and his background through my colleague Sarah, and the interest in digital sovereignty and the interest in trustworthiness, I think, has really got our attention. So Lewis has been working on a prototype which he's going to be introducing now, handing over to his colleague Wario, and then to Sarah, who actually developed the people and skills specification for the Internet of Production Alliance. Lewis, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Handing over to you.
Thank you very much. Coolio. So share screen. And is this okay and legible?
Yeah.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us. Really appreciate it. What we're going to show, try to show how our prototype technical platform LibCADA could work with the people and skills technical foundation and challenges. So we're going to show you two prototypes today. These are fairly early work in progress. One is alpha stage, one could be enter into beta stage, hopefully. Both of which are using the same technical principle, which is the LibCADA library. I will go into details about that a bit later after the demonstration. And yeah, as said, can it be used as a basis for the people skills? So I will first go into some background and prototype a use case for why these prototypes exists in the first place. Then the demo will be done by Wario. I will explain a bit about the technical concept, then hand it over to Sarah to say something about the state of the people and skills, and if you, Sarah, then lead into a discussion of whether this can fit into the people and skills tech and how it could. So first, a little bit about us. The pictures are misleading because I'm the fat one and Wario's the slim one. But I myself have started in the crypto and cryptographic space in 2017 with a project called Swarm, a storage engine for the Ethereum network. I also, since 2020, have been involved with the Grassroots Economics Project in Kenya, and have also made a modest contribution to the Internet of Production and some discussion of the Peoples and Skills spec up to the first publication at the start of this year, I guess it was, or the end of last year. And Wario, a couple of words about you, please.
Greetings, everyone.
Wario? Yeah.
Well, I'm delighted to be in this meeting. We met with Lash late last year. We've been working on these prototypes. Before, I've worked with some organizations in Kenya, Equity Bank, A&M being a tech hub. Worked with some environment organization in Northern Kenya. And I'm into Web3 apps, and I'm a full stack web developer. Glad to be here. I'm gonna be doing the demo prototypes on the mobile. Back to you, Lash.
Thank you. So yes, as said, I am based, among other things, in El Salvador, and Wario is in Kenya. But the foundation of this prototype takes place in El Salvador. El Salvador, the burgeoning Bitcoin country. I reside on the borderlands of Honduras and Nicaragua, where shortly a new international airport is being built. And among other things, the locals have to learn how to speak English to accommodate, well, goes coming to visit more frequently, for example. So I have taken the initiative of starting a community center out there with two of my friends, a couple called Sean and Rocio from Ireland and Ecuador, respectively. They have been in El Salvador nearly a year, volunteering at a farm at the other side of the country, also teaching English, etc., and wanted to move out to this area where they have started having classes in English, classes in reading and writing. I've installed a few computers there with open source operating system, Debian, Linux. We have movie nights in English with Spanish subtitles. We are also these days establishing a neighborhood association there for development of the local community. And also in the future, I hope it could also contain a laboratory or a laboratory for sovereign tech development, maybe even a makerspace. That would be a bit further down the line, but I have my eye on that as well. Now, to these classes in English and reading and writing, we are trying to establish a credit economy around this. So we don't want to take payments in dollars, which is the official currency of El Salvador, unfortunately. Instead, we would like them to earn credits and then pay us in credits instead. Now, how can they earn these credits? It's still early days, but one of the things we've done is to ask them to collect trash. There's a huge amount of plastic trash washing up on the beach from the estuary every day. There's a huge problem all over the country. So the idea is that one bag of trash equals 1 hour of classes. We also have a Nintendo Switch machine, so they can also trade their credits in for that. Arguably which one is more popular, but then also idea stolen from the National Library of El Salvador now was to read books and then earn credits that way. Playing also on the computers, playing puzzle games or educational games. Those are some examples. So the prototypes here mirror a couple of the activities that we have at the center. One is the trash pickup thing or other tasks that earn credits. It's the first prototype that Wario will be showing. These are then claims for credits. And the idea is that when you go out, collect trash, for example, you create a claim, you add proof to that claim, for example, pictures or videos of you doing it. Choose identity means you make a cryptographic key to sign this claim. Then you request confirmation that, okay, it looks like you did that, and you get certification in form of a counter signature. Later on, then, the idea, you can spend this credit. We won't be demoing the spending part of it because that's not done yet. And this is the prototype that is in alpha stage, so please, demo gods, be merciful with us. The other one is an event booking app that wrote earlier this year, and the idea that, for example, for these movie nights, there would be enough, that people would want to reserve spaces for it. Now, they haven't really been tested out in the real world yet because it's not customary to do that there. But anyway, we write the system. So the idea is you acquire a reservation from the application, then you sign and request a confirmation of that reservation, and then you get a certification. So as you see already, the flow of the thing is the same. The foundation, the technical foundation of both these are the same. The protocol is the same, but there are two different iterations of it. And the hope is that with showing you these two prototypes, that our imagination can lead us to, okay, could this actually be used for certifications for this piece of skill? So I think I will hand it over to you then, Wario.
Luis, can you all see my screen?
I can.
Yeah.
Okay, so the user, in this case, the people in the community, as Luis said, they're doing trash collection and they have to do that from the application. Create a new task.
Wario, I'm not sure if we can hear you. If you're speaking while you're doing this, we can't hear.
Can you hear me right now?
Now I can hear you. Where are you speaking?
Okay. Yeah, I was speaking.
Sorry.
Oh, I guess maybe while I was recording the video. So from the beginning, what the user does, they get to create a new task. After creating the task, they get to upload documents. So the documents, in this case, they're files, videos, or photo attachments, which are proof of works they've done. After that, they get to create a video.
Now you disappeared.
After that, they create a digital identity using a PIN, which gets created from the library that Louise created. So them having created that is the PIN that they use to sign their certificate. In this case, that's the trash claim. The claim of whatever they've done. So in this case, we created a claim, which I've clicked on. Louise, can you see the claim?
Yeah, I can see it, the QR code there.
Yeah.
So that is the request part of this, right?
Yeah, this is the claim that we just created the other minute, which was beach cleaning with a description saying they collected that for 2 hours and the amount it equates to 2 hours of credits. Says the time they submitted. So for the approver, they can view the attachment. You see? And they can view the video. So after that, it gets to the approver. So what does the approver do? The approver gets to countersign the claim, and in that case, it gets approved. So let me demo the signing bit of it.
And while you were switching to that, just let's note that you could add take a photo and record a video directly in the app. The idea is to kind of can do, the idea, I guess, is that you kind of can do everything from within it, right?
Yeah, sure. From within it. Pardon?
Oh, sorry, I don't know if you're seeing the questions in chat as well, that are coming up. There's one from Felipe as well as Lawrence. And the first one is asking if the system allows peers to negotiate the value attributed to the claim.
It's a bit early to ask all of these questions, but let's do all of this into the discussion. This is still, as I said, this is not a full-fledged system at all and still early in development. So this is about all of those questions sounds like questions that we imagine, where could we take?
Okay, as we continue, can I go ahead with the countersign?
Absolutely. Just feel free to post more questions, of course, in the chat. It's just, and we'll take them after. Yeah. So keep an eye on it.
Okay, let me go ahead with the countersigner, then we'll answer the questions. So after the user having submitted their claim and the approver gets to see the proofs and all that, now there's a different application built on the same library that Lash built, the same one that was used to create the claims. It's used to make this other application that will be used to countersign the certificates, in this case, the claims that the users have submitted. So the admin in this case goes to scan a certificate. So after scanning the certificate, the details get to pop up. In this case, they have maybe viewed the attachments, the video and the picture in this case. So after that, they get to see category beach cleaning, did some cleaning at the beach, 2 hours credits, date. So they can get to approve, maybe approved. And they get to redeem maybe their 2 hours of credits. Lash, are we still here?
Yes, of course. Yeah, this is for certifying it. Yeah. And this is really just illustrate the purpose. It doesn't contain like any complex, like, yeah, the amount was okay or anything like this, right? It's just generic countersigning. That's what you're saying.
So if they accept it, they countersign. If not accepted, they get rejected. So we'll countersign this one. So certificate countersigned successfully. And they get to enjoy their 2 hours of credits to either play the Nintendo Switch, the English lessons, whatever the community will agree upon will be the reward for whatever task they did. Louise, that's the end of the part demo.
Of that one. Cool. So yeah, let's do the event one. So this is the what I'm showing the upcoming movies, and there is the system for. Oh, am I sharing screen? I'm not. Am I sharing screen or no?
Not yet.
No.
Okay. Sorry, not used to doing these calls. So, right. Let's go back. So this is a website that mostly contains the upcoming films that we're showing. So we have an event booking system for this. Sorry about this. Well, not sorry about the Spanish, but for those who don't speak Spanish, use your imagination, I guess. So to reserve an event, there is already a key generated in this browser. Oh dear. Actually, I already did the booking here for that one. So I will, that was silly of me, sorry. Just kill all of these, right? Don't worry, this demo is supposed to be that technical. So here we come to, so yeah, now it changed from verify to create your key. So this is what you, the first time you use this event system, create your key, you give it a password, then you can enter your name if you want, your email if you want, telephone if you want, and a comment. All of this is voluntary. You can reserve. And then a similar QR code. And I don't know if how should I send this to you over the Signal or what? Or you could just do it from this QR code, the verification. Wario, are you there?
I'm here. You want to send me over on Signal?
Yes, I can send you over on Signal. So the idea is now Wario will open the cell phone app and verify this using a different verification app. Just so you believe us that this actually. So I sent it. Did you get it? And can you verification, please, Wario?
Yeah, I received it. Let me share my screen. So unlike the previous application, on this one we get to scan event certificates. And one feature of the app, we get to add trusted keys. So right now, not trusted key is added. I'm gonna add the trusted key that was used to generate that. At Louise, is it the same key that you sent me before?
It should be yes, in shop.
Okay, it's a response key. Sorry about the technical details. So after that, we get to event certificate verified and stored. So the reserve ID is 29 slot ID that, and they get admitted maybe to the whatever event. In this case, maybe the movies. Lash, you can take over from there.
Yeah, just to show what happens when you scan it.
Okay, this is the second time we're scanning. And it tells us event certificate was already redeemed. So do I start all over again?
No, that's good, I think.
Yeah, and We forgot to mention for the other trash application too, if maybe the same claim is brought twice, the system gets detected, and the admin will be prompted that the same claim was used before. Same with the certificate, the events one. A certificate can't be reused. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So let's get this started again. All right, so I'll go into a bit of not too technical detail about what's going on under the hood here. So this is a command line scan of the QR code that you saw, and is the content of what is actually being scanned and processed. Less technical overview. This the protocol is based on a very simple principle, which is just a request, a response to the request, and those two constitute a certificate. The way it works is that the request is signed cryptographically, then the response to the request is signed, but the response also contains the request, forming a sort of chain. And then, as said, these two then constitute the countersigned certificate. libqaeda allows for chaining these together so that when you have one request response pair constituting the certificate, you can take a fingerprint of this and then include that fingerprint into the next request and response chain, request and response item, which then in turn gets its own unique fingerprint, which points then back as a linked list, or is the same way as chains of blocks in blockchains work. In this demo, I haven't shown chaining at all, just this first part of it. First blob of text that you saw I'll try to explain what was in there. There is a topic, which is on the left side, which is typically an identifier that can use to disambiguate which application is being used. Then the upper part is the request, and the request and the response, as you see, is the same in structure. The request contains some arbitrary data, whatever it might be, then a date time, a public key, and a signature. The same content in the response, the only difference being that the response also is chained to the requests. So that the signature of the response is also a signature over the request. And the fingerprint on the right side and the potentially chained to the previous certificate. Now, how this, to imagine how this could work at all with the people and skill stuff could be, for example, probably if you have done so and so many hours with a 3D printer or whatnot, you didn't want to maybe type down exactly all the details around what you learned. So maybe there is a QR code that you sign that generates most of the request details for you, and you only fill out a few things. That would be the data of the request. And then the response would be something, so the symbol at the bottom is supposed to be skills. So whatever the protocol dictates that appropriate response to that should be, maybe it should be some sort of grading, maybe it should be contain which teachers there were involved, etc. Could be anything. Important takeaway is that the data, again, in this system is totally generic. So all of this stuff fits into QR code, as you saw in the demonstration, the certificate itself. Now, of course, a certificate or a QR code can't contain absolutely everything. Images, videos, etc. Contain way too much data for a single QR code to handle. Now, it's not a part of this demonstration at all how to handle these files. However, for whichever application we would make as a basis of this, we would want to make sure that it's the data could be transferred between the parties on a cloud, in a server, self-serve server environment, perhaps, over close-range radio waves, or even just as a sneakernet style through a USB pin. The most important takeaway of which is that it's backend agnostic. It encourages technical sovereignty or server sovereignty, and also enables the user, him or herself, to hold all of the pieces of the act that constitute the certificate. So the process of this then is to scan the QR code, then look up the data and see what that is. Also see which public keys are being used for to countersign it. Identify whether the public key is in the list of trusted public keys, like Wario showed what he initially did with the second app to add a trusted key to the application. And then if all of that checks out, the certificate is verified. Now that's pretty much all we have for the demonstration and the explanation of it. I don't want to go into more technical detail now, but let's do that at the discussion. But before that, I guess pass it on to Sarah to say something about the states of the skills, people and skills, and then lead into the discussion, please. Thank you.
Sure. Would you prefer to answer questions that came up regarding your demonstration now or during the discussion?
Let's see what they were. I'll take the bait.
You'll take the bait. Yeah.
Well,
so
Qaeda's Arabic. I believe, at least, I don't speak Arabic, but it's Arabic for base or foundation. So that is the idea, that it is a foundation for a cryptographical communication exchange.
Mm-hmm. So there's a question from Felipe. I can load them back into chat if that is easier. So did you already address the whether or not, I know that having peers negotiate the values attributed to the claims, like it's still early enough in development, so that's not something that's currently in discussion.
It could easily be solved, though, by the chaining of the request responses, right? So that is the idea, that the foundation, like the simplicity of the libqaeda, the whole idea is that it enables all sorts of things like this through building blocks, really. Mm-hmm. But nothing like that is implemented currently. What you saw now is what we have from actual coded stuff on top.
Mm-hmm. And Lawrence, did you want to unpack yours a little bit more, because you'd had a question about the application being for contract signage and double entry?
Yeah, sure. The main question is in this application, I'm looking at it from more of like a more complex, more feature rich. This looks like it's more of like a building block or core building block tool. So can you talk about like a little bit more about how this would integrate into like as a general purpose, like economic tool, or as a economic or organizational tool?
Well, in terms of the contracts, contract signage, well, I have some sort of proposal that I would want to forward to you, and you countersign that proposal. So again, in this sense, the requester includes the identity of the requester is included within the signature of the request, right? And the contract taker then countersigns that and includes the identity of the petitioner into that. So in this sense, both of the parties are identified and then both have the same copy, a copy of the same thing, and can prove that those two things are linked together. When it comes to double entry, does that answer your questions on the contract? I'm not sure if it needs to be more specific than that, or.
No, I think you answered my question through the talk. I think the only other major part was the conflict resolution. For example, if there's I guess the conflict resolution is you don't sign, if you don't like what it says, or if you don't like what the event is.
Yeah, sure. Or there could be part of the application or the data structure that is being carried by this request response structure could define in itself a protocol of, states of rejection or acceptance, right? So that would be part of, so the data part of the folder, right, and the request and also in the response, that would be contained there, but it would be application specific. So this is more a container for pushing these back and forth and making sure that they're signed and linked together. As you say with double entry, if you mean accounting for that, or?
Yeah. So the idea of double entry is that you have a place where in money, like event money goes out and it comes back in. So in the contract, in the same way, it'd be like you get a signature or contract goes out, gets modified and updated, and it comes back in, and you accept those modifications by signing it and agreeing to those. So in that way, you basically get a double entry or double verification of the of acceptance and the response, and the acceptance of that response.
Exactly, yeah. So the only thing is that here, everything would be in even numbers, right? So there would be a response for every request. So every round trip would be 2 steps in that way, right? Mm-hmm. And whether one of those steps are just like a 1 or a 0, just to fill the gap, which is actually what we're doing, for example, with this event booking thing. It just confirms with 1, for example.
Great. I think that's all the questions that we had. Anybody else want to ask anything before? Hello. Hi, Jan. Did you have a question? Hi.
Yes, I have a question about the project. My question is as follows. When we are training people, is to us to register the person, or is the person that has to register in the team, in the system? Since we are the one forming, and the student that we are forming, that they want to register now.
If I understand it correctly, the question is when you have currently clients or students that you would want to enter in the system, whether they have to register, if that's the question.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not a server by itself, a server-based system at all. There is no place to really register. It works with cryptographic identities instead. So the way that works is when you want to create an identity, you create the key, and then you keep this key secret, and that as long as that's secret, only you can sign with this key, and therefore prove that you are the owner of the key. Won't go into too much of the cryptographic basics here, I think, but let alone to say that we would rather imagine that you, as the hub or as the authority, would hold a collection of public keys of known clients of you. That is the registration kind of, that the keys. And maybe those keys are also connected to some identifiable information, such as a identity number or a copy, or rather a fingerprint of a copy of the passport, so that the data doesn't necessarily leak, etc. So it's a bit of a different process than the traditional enter an email, enter a password, do the CAPTCHA, jump around, lie down, roll around, and so on and so forth. It's a bit of a different paradigm. I don't know if that makes it clear.
Okay, I've understood.
I didn't catch. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and I think too that's a good segue into into the people and skills specification and different points of entry for people to be able to register, because as Lewis was saying, that this is a different paradigm, and it was one that was born out of the discussion of how do we create this system where you can, basically follow that model of having issuers, earners, and like that certification process and assignment, but take it out of that more, traditional, create an individual record for each person having to enter all of that data that Lewis was just stating. But if that's the case, like that, we do have the flexibility to be able to do that. I can share a couple of links about the People and Skills Standard. I know that a lot of folks in the room are already familiar with it. But first, I wanted to, Lawrence had asked if there's a good link. Are there any links that you want to share, Lewis? There you go.
Yeah, sorry, there
Gotcha.
wasn't QR codes at the end of the thing. I'll
Yeah.
actually, should I go ahead and share those again so people can screenshot?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so let's do it nice and full screen. And I also totally forgot to say what these links were actually. The first one is my email address. The second one is from left to right is my web where miscellaneous projects are listed up. Then it's on the bottom left is the playalastunas.org, which is the community center site, which
are you actually sharing the screen? No, I don't. Yeah, it's not.
I'm sorry, I suck at this all stuff. Really do. Right, is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, okay, here we go again. So top left, my email address. Top right is my website. It isn't much, but it links to all of the projects and code I'm involved in mostly. Bottom left is the website we have for the community project, which is really just a listing of the movies we're showing at the current moment in time. And then the bottom right one is actually, I want to emphasize, I totally forgot. So as you remember, Sean and Rocio, my friends that are doing the actual work at the community center, doing all the teaching, doing all the community connections and stuff. Rocio has a YouTube channel where she does, I guess you call it vlogs or whatever from this work, and also their time in El Salvador. So if you want to learn more about the project itself over there and the background, the context for all of this, then you can follow that there. Mm-hmm. So is that enough for a screenshot?
I think that's good. And then that's good.
Cool.
Yeah. Amazing. And I'll just touch down briefly on where this fits into the certification pathway that we had identified, and to bring others up to speed on the people and skills just very briefly. For folks who aren't already familiar with the work in developing that specification, here is a link to a page that includes, many of the associated assets, including to the spec itself, which is it is on PubPub. And so you can take a look at that. Here's the specification, but I'll just do a quick screen share to show, where these conversations started. When Lewis and I started talking about, since developing this specification, and which was based on a good deal of research with, hundreds of different makers and makerspace leaders, and, talking about developing a shared ontology. Can you see my screen with that's not, what is that? That is not what I wanted.
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Yeah, that's not the screen I wanted to share. That's not the image though. Let me try that again. I have multiple monitors, so let me make sure I've got this desktop too. Yeah, that's still not. Let's see if I can close that. No, okay. Well, anyway, I can share the report so that you can see it. So in taking a look at the pathway of establishing, issuers of digital certificates, these accrediting bodies that basically determine what are the badge classes and the assertions for, what training are we verifying each maker for. We wanted to provide a system that would allow for mobility between spaces that lived outside of these larger accrediting bodies. And so, we have this ontology now that can be further developed by the community, because that's the larger human engineering piece of this, and for organizations to come to a shared understanding of, what do we recognize as, if you use the language specifically that Lewis introduced during the demonstration that Wario was talking about, what are these categories, the grouping of tasks and the task details, and the proofs that are agreed upon that then allow for that verification. It's more of a governance conversation at this stage. We have the ontology, we have the workflow, we have the technical aspects of it in development now. But what I see as being an essential next step forward is what larger accrediting bodies or education and training authorities might be interested in having conversations about, adopting this type of workflow. And the one that comes to mind specifically in the context of this conversation is TVET. And that, for folks who aren't already familiar, they are a technical and vocational education and training authority in Kenya, with which I and a few other folks had conversations previously. But when you look at, these larger authorities and organizations that are assigning these credentials, what is the possibility and opportunity for using a system like this, where you could make it a part of the education and training program to have the learners themselves contribute to the ontologies that are in development in the people and skills specification? So I will, there's only 2 minutes left for that further discussion, but I would be interested to hear additional thoughts, or if folks have any questions. I'm sorry I couldn't share my screen for some odd reason, but I'll keep trying.
There's always technical problems with these webinars. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Wario. Thank you, Lewis. I think this is particularly interesting to me because I've grown up using systems that are centralized. So the idea of, I have a certificate for my degree from university, and I mean, it's a bit of paper. And, when it was in the news that it turned out these very simple bits of paper could be easily copied and forged, and that when people were claiming to have gone to my university when they never did, but the university didn't really have didn't have an office that people could call to check, a central place for calling and checking with, who were former students. It was actually a reasonably big scandal. But now, you can just ask any. I was reading on posts earlier today about people generating fake passports. They're using AI prompts. So if you need a photo for a passport photo or something, a photo of a passport to get a bank account, you can just generate one with AI, and you can't really tell the difference from the real thing. So there's all sorts of issues with fake certificates. When it comes to the Internet of Production, quality is key, and as you build up these certificates and the time that you spend on certain tasks, that can really be a good indicator of quality, we think. And the fact that this is decentralized, that there is no sort of platform that you have to have login credentials for. Everyone carries their own data, basically, and shares that as needed with people that they want to share it with, and potentially embedding that data within the contracting that might go on around the production of a product. I think that could be incredibly valuable, but it also means that built into the system, of course, as we've seen today, you have to have someone sign off on it. And whilst that, of course, could be corrupted as well, I think there's a lot of need to work with the kind of authorities that Sarah is talking about to make sure that we can build these systems of trust that allow us to know if we ask someone to make something for us somewhere, that it will come out in reasonably good quality. And that there are also collective systems for redress if need be as well, which I think goes to some of the dispute mechanisms that Lawrence might be talking about as well. We're actually at the hour since the course started. We actually started a few minutes past the hour. Does anybody have any other questions or discussion you want to have about how this fits with the Internet of Production or with People and Skills Standard, or what we're particularly interested in is other people who are interested in trying it out or integrating it with their own projects?
And just to make that clear, like trying it out, it's early days for that. So this is more of showcasing, like, does somebody want to make an app with this starting point and iterate?
Great.
Nice.
So Felipe will come back to us in 2026. Thanks, Felipe. I think there's a number of, Felipe and I are members of the Global Innovation Gathering community. I think there's a number of people in that community that could be interested in this kind of technology for trustworthy micro-credentialing that doesn't involve other people's systems, centralized systems. Robin is asking, are there alternatives in open source to libqaeda?
If their question is whether libqaeda is open source, of course it is.
Are there alternatives to what you've done already in open source?
This kind of counter-signing thing, this structure, I'm not aware of something as generic as this myself. Standards for such identities protocol, not really. I mean, there are all sorts of implementations. And then, you know, as the saying goes, you have these 10 different things that don't work together. Let's make the standard 10 different standards that don't work together. Let's make one standard to bind them all, and now you have 11. Yeah. So that's kind of the way it works. So this is an attempt of stab at trying to make something more foundational with easier building blocks to build from.
Thanks. And Jan has commented that he's interested to take discussions further, but we'll be discussing with his colleagues. Emilio has mentioned Victoria, who's also on Victoria's project, and Victoria is also on the call today with the Global Distributed Tracking System. GOSCROSS is a global open source quality assurance system. And that's basically a system for, this is, again, you know, members of the Alliance who have developed a tool in response to a need that they've seen, particularly this one coming out of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, where actually another part of quality is being able to check the provenance of something and making sure that that provenance is accurate and has a history. And what they've developed with GDT, the Global Distributed Tracking System, is actually a very, 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 very simple easy to use website tool for logging the history, the provenance of something, and to do that in a more decentralized cryptographic manner might well be interesting. So that particularly as we come on to, we've seen in the recent Alliance events that we teamed up with Cosquas and with Public Invention, digital product passports, that systems that are trying to pitch for digital product passports, but it often means you have to use their platform and their login and their, and pay their subscription. And I think, Lewis, what you and Wario have developed are about trying to get away from that paradigm.
And kind of the irony of it all is this NFT revolution that was also supposed to be decentralized, right? We could buy your artwork and take it with you anywhere, and that artwork was then on their platform. So you end up with the same result, just in the cryptographic space, right? So that is why also the data portability part of it is really
right.
I think Victoria, was there something that she had her hand?
Oh yeah, thanks, Sarah. Victoria, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the great discussion. So this system reminds me a lot of GDT. There's slightly different use cases. GDT, Global Distributed Tracking, is for the tracking of objects, information, something that is moving through space. And it sounds like the system mentioned here is tracking actions that someone is doing and centrally recording them. However, people that need that type of action recording are often attached to objects that are moving through space because they're manufacturing something or they're in a makerspace. So GDT is quite well developed. I think we should probably have some discussions offline about some partnership across our two systems, because they're very similar in operation. GDT is basic cryptography. So I think there's a lot of alignment here.
Thanks. I dropped the repo of that in chat for folks who want to take a look. It's in the Cosquas GitHub, and that was that all? I think that Robert Reed was the lead developer on that, and we had a fair number of conversations with him as a part of the during the research process for people in scale. So yes, this is all very much interconnected,
right.
Especially, yeah.
A question from me, if I may, Lewis. What you and Wario were showing on the screen involved, sharing the keys and so on that you were demonstrating. When the children in El Salvador have collected the trash, they've taken the photos, how natural is it for them to use a system like this? Obviously, it's a phone app, so they've got to be able to be good users of phones, but access to a phone is probably all you need, because children are pretty nimble at learning smartphones. But having the right key and understanding some of the way that key should be handled. What's been the reaction in the community to you trying this out?
Well, maybe it isn't clear. We're actually not using it in the community currently. We're building it for the community now and putting it to use shortly. Now, a question of, right. So about actually funny that you should ask that, because we didn't have time to complete this before the call and maybe wouldn't have time to showcase it either. But we have an option of a QR code containing a private key that you can scan on a different device. So actually it's a reality also in the reality over there that, well, at least kids, fortunately, I guess, don't have smartphones, right? So if they are the ones doing then there needs to be different solutions. Obviously, there are security questions around that, and it's not airtight and it's not a hardware wallet, but it's you scale these against what is the model of the threat or the risk of the exposure. And I think in this case, when we're talking about some trash credits, maybe you don't have to be Fort Knox necessarily. With the sharing of the public keys, was there a question around that, or the infrastructure, or was it the private keys?
No. It's just about the ease of use and the adoption of technology. What kind of, for that trial then, what kind of questions are in your mind and Wario's mind about, what is it you're looking for? Well, we're watching for as people start to get their hands on this technology in your center.
Yeah. Well, solve a problem first of all. So the whole idea about making this to try to solve problems at the center was, well, to actually have, well, so to start the center too is part of the calculation or part of the algorithm of actually having some real world use cases to try out tech sovereignty. And right, as far as this credit spending goes right now, we're just using an Excel sheet, right? But when this starts to grow, it's going to be really, really hard for Sean and Rocio and maybe an assistant down the line to keep track of all of this. And it's also, I'm maybe specifically interested in also the digital literacy aspect of it. Like this whole idea that, well, you're not supposed to even know what's going on with this. Well, these are fairly simple concepts on the high level, right? And especially interesting in El Salvador, though, is they already have an education program centered around Bitcoin. They're trying to actually teach the new population about, like, what is this thing with public key cryptography that's been around for 50 years and nobody really knows what it is, right? And the idea is, well, you're not really supposed to know. It's what the tech overlords kind of handle and you just consume it. But they take a different approach there. And I guess this is also a stab at taking it like one less level of abstraction. So not just teaching Bitcoin, but actually teaching, well, the key thing, right? So that's kind of primarily where I'm after, to see, is it possible to build some intuitive understanding of that? And as an extension of that, which is the true sovereignty, are they able to confidently hold their keys and know what they're doing? Because if they are, then, if you're not, then all of this is for nothing, and you might as well just use the old system, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question satisfactorily.
I like that idea of being able to confidently hold your keys. I mean, I'm often trying to figure out where the hell my keys are, and that's just the physical ones to get into my house. But it'll be easy when it's on my phone. Are there any other comments or questions? So you have some interest in follow-up meetings here next year. You have some interest from Jan as well. He's going to be speaking to his colleagues. Yeah, Robin knows where his keys are. Thank you for sharing your work with us, Lewis, Wario. The significance of this, I think, will emerge over the next few months, over the next year, over the next couple of years, as we begin to sort of build on these sorts of tools, I think. And I think it's going to, as you've already heard in the call today, there's interest from other Alliance members about using it. So thanks for giving us a bit of a demo and for framing it, particularly around the people and skills specification, which is an important part of the Internet of Productions portfolio of how we're trying to distribute manufacturing. So with that, I'm going to bring the call to a close and say goodbye to you all and see you all in 2026. The recording will be posted on YouTube very soon, and I'll email you all to make sure you get the link. Thanks again to our speakers. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Lewis. Thanks, Wario. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.